multiple of things. There's no silver bullet. So it's things like climate information services to farmers so they can understand what's coming in the next few days and the season ahead. It's risk insurance, so that they can be insured for what they're putting into their fields and crops. It's new varieties of seeds or new breeds that can withstand droughts or higher temperatures. So it's a range of these kinds of things. It's mostly for the developing world, and for our focus, it's adaptation and vulnerability. What we're looking at is kind of the lessons learning. We've had various events pulling together stakeholders, implementing things. So for us, it's a really important networking occasion and understanding different ways of doing business. So there's a big push to get private sector involved, more in the developing world, because there's not enough public money to drive the change that's needed. So there's nice lessons about blended finance and how to mix private finance and public finance. Even in the adaptation space, there's need for more thinking about what to do. Some of the actions are even not sufficient in terms of what the future is going to bring. And in the mitigation space, in the developing world, we believe you can put agriculture on a different path from what has happened in other developed countries, a low emissions path. So, and countries are starting to think about that and are implementing those sorts of things already. So there's a technique in rice farming. Now, the methane, the emissions from rice are the same as aviation. And there's a technique where you can just change the water management in rice and you can reduce your emissions by 25 to 50%.
Wow.
But it needs more inputs in terms of management because you have to manage the water carefully. But this is a real feasibility, and there's some governments which have already put in their NDCs emissions targets, like Vietnam, and they plan to do it through the rice sector, for example. One of the problems with the negotiations is that there's a mitigation discussions and there's adaptation discussions, and often they're in different places. And as a fantastic farmer once said to me, he doesn't wake up and do adaptation on one day and the next day he wakes up and do mitigation, because it's wrapped up in the same technologies and practices.